So I'm sure a lot of you know that the Olympics happened in Rio this past summer. Rio brought a lot of hype in the name of athletics, but one thing you might not remember about the Olympics are the stories of Katinka Hozu and Corey Cogdell-Unrein. Hozu broke a world record in swimming, and after winning, her husband was recognized as the man responsible. And Cogdell-Unrein won 2 medals in trap shooting, but yet the Chicago Tribune tweeted the headline, "Wife of Bears lineman wins bronze medal today in the Rio Olympics." So from hearing these stories, you get the sense of a clear imbalance. A female athlete at the top of her game competing at the highest competition possible, and her husband gets more recognition by media outlets. It definitely wasn't her husband who spent hours training and working to get better. It was her as an Olympic athlete. It's not just the Olympics that this is occurring, though. It's happening throughout all professional sports. Playing sports my whole life, I have seen this firsthand. There's this clear difference between men's and women's sports. It didn't matter if our team was better, had a better record, more fun to watch. It honestly didn't matter. Our games were far less attended, and I could hear eye rolls and scoffs when I would ask my friends to come support my games. So through this speech, I will outline for you the problem, cause, and the solution of the gender gap in professional sports by showing you that female professional athletes get paid less, have less sponsorship, and less viewership than male professional athletes. And that's caused by our culture of gender inequality, and a step in the right direction toward a solution can be found in changing our mindsets. So first, we have to address the problem. Women in professional sports get paid less than their male counterparts. So here's an example from the WNBA from Vice Sports, which is a sports website designed to dive into how sports play a role in our society. Excuse me. Diana Taurasi, showed above, she made the All Women's National Basketball Association's first team in 2014 and helped the Phoenix Mercury win the league's championship. That season, she was paid the WNBA maximum salary of $107,500. In 2013-2014, the Phoenix Suns, which is the male counterpart of that basketball team, employed Dante Christmas for 198 minutes, which is roughly 4 games and a quarter. For those minutes, the only minutes Christmas has ever played in the NBA, he was paid the league minimum of $49,180. That's a huge difference. And she was paid the maximum, and he was paid the minimum, and he played way less minutes. A second example is from the soccer world. We see the U.S. women's national team players Carly Lloyd and Hope Solo versus Clint Dempsey and Tim Howard, who play on the U.S. men's national team. And they're being compared because Lloyd and Dempsey play the same position, and Solo and Howard play the same position. But you can see that Lloyd and Solo, this is their income, and then Dempsey and Howard, you can see the clear imbalance here. And these statistics were taken after, in 2014 for the females, after they had won the Women's World Cup. And these statistics were taken in 2014 after the men had been eliminated in the round of 16 in the World Cup. So you see that imbalance there too. Women in professional sports also have significantly less sponsorship and endorsements than men. So here we're going to look at tennis as an example from the Atlantic. Serena Williams, you can see her at $13 million down at the bottom there. It's said that she's the greatest female tennis player of all time and currently the most dominant U.S. athlete of any sport or any sex. She has multiple Grand Slam titles in the 20s and became the 6th tennis athlete to win the Australian Open, the French Open, Wimbledon, and the U.S. Open all in a single year, which is a huge feat. So she's one of 6 that has ever done that. But you can see her there at the bottom compared to Roger Federer, who's at $58 million, who has less Grand Slam titles and also less just wins in general in his tennis career. Excuse me. And finally, women's professional sports get watched less than men's professional sports. I found a Time article that dove into this problem and said that the Women's World Cup was the highest rated television broadcast of a soccer game of all time. Yet the National Women's Soccer League, which employs many of the same players as would have been playing in the Women's World Cup, struggles to attract the same level of interest we see in Major League Soccer. And the same is true for other women's sports leagues like the National Pro Fast Pitch and the Women's National Basketball Association. Neither of these leagues do as well as Major League Baseball or the National Basketball Association. Time also included a couple of tweets and attributes the problem to sexist attitudes and stereotypes. So they included these tweets that says that when women can't dunk or make shots, or women play on a huge soccer field with poor goalkeepers, the product can get marginalized. And also, not women's soccer, women's sports in general is not worth watching. So second, we have to consider the cause of the problem. We have a culture of gender inequality in our country that overflows into the athletic world. We focus on stereotypes of women instead of understanding what women can actually have the power to do. In a journal about the inequality of sports, it was quoted that sex appeal, rather than recognition of athletic accomplishments, is prevalent. A woman's body is not portrayed as a strong, muscular machine capable of extraordinary feats like a man's body is, but instead is seen more as an object pleasurable to the eye when it's exposed outside of the realm of sports. So it doesn't matter that females are competing, all we can see them as sex objects. And to get a better understanding of the imbalance in the athletic world, we also have to shift our eyes to society. The United Nations Women Deputy Director and Assistant Secretary General Cassidy Persuasive, in an address given, stated that negative stereotypes hinder people's ability to fulfill their potential by limiting choices and opportunities. So this is happening all over our world, not just in the athletic world, but it shows very clearly in sports. So lastly, we have to work at finding a solution. And while a solution to this problem, because it's so big, might seem a little out of reach, one step is changing mindsets. And one way of changing mindsets that CNN suggested in an article is by creating a more diverse leadership in the sports industry. It said that sports are a microcosm of life. As we begin to see more diverse group of men and women in leadership and decision-making roles throughout the industry, we should also see significant changes in media, sponsorship, and other fundamental areas of support. So if we can start by putting females in leadership roles, that will have the trickle-down effect that we'll be able to see women as power players on the court or on the field or wherever. And changing mindsets really does work. Aaliyah Crum, a psychologist at Columbia University, has done extensive research into mindsets, and she found that having a mindset that gender is negative tells us that it makes it hard for women to progress and succeed in leadership. And so if we have those negative mindsets, that will play out into all aspects of our life, but it also has the opposite effect. So if we're told that gender is positive, it will have those reverse effects, and that we'll be told that we are strong women that can do things, and men, you will have the idea that women can do just the same things that you can do and other things like that. So all around, women in professional sports get paid less, have less sponsorship, and less viewership than men in professional sports because of our culture of gender inequality, but the beginning steps in the solution is changing our mindsets. Through this speech, I hope that you have come to the same conclusion I came to. There's a clear sense of imbalance in our professional athletic world that needs to change. The mindsets we carry will continue to seep into other aspects of our lives if we don't work at changing them.